your name is already wrote on the top, go ahead and rip off the first page. Since Chicago in there now, just rip the front page off. Just the front. So I'll call somebody to read each passage. We're gonna, put your hands down. We're gonna read the passage together. We're gonna go through and answer the questions, highlight, support our answer, even if it's multiple choice. So who would like to read first? Charles.
In the mid-1800s, Chicago was a small town compared to bustling
Metropolis.
metropolis. It is today. Back then, it was busy trading, post with wooden houses, dirt roads, and horse-drawn carriages. People rode on gas lamps or light food. There were no skyscrapers like the ones that fill the city skyline today. Life in the mid.
So it's just saying that there was no technology. There was nothing advanced. So they weren't going home and watching TV or could flick on a light switch. It was starting a fire, gas lamp. There's no cars, things like that. So who wants to read the next paragraph? Christopher?
Life in the mid-1800s was quite different from today's fast-paced world. People didn't have smartphones or computers. Instead, they relied on handwritten letters and newspapers for information. Travel was slower, and there were no cars or airplanes. Steamboats and trains were the primary mode of transportation.
One major difference was how people worked and lived. In mid-1800s, many folks worked in factories, farms, or as tradespeople. The city's economy was centered around industries like meat packing and now factory.
Manufacturing. That just means making stuff and packaging it.
Today, Chicago is known for its diverse economy, including finance, technology, and entertainment.
Good job. So in the 1800s, there was something called the Industrial Revolution, and that just meant in America at that time there was lots of people immigrating to America, so coming from other countries and living here, and they were setting up factories and other businesses. So instead of it being everyone on farms or small little towns or just living with their family, everyone started living together in bigger places to run these factories and make all these products. So there would be like textile factories, and people would go in and work, and they would make clothes or blankets or fabric to make all these items. So people started having to live closer together and come up with solutions for these problems for living closer together. Or Jay.
Chicago grew up 400 years. It became more diverse and
Multicultural.
immigrants from all over the world came to Chicago, bringing their traditions, languages, and cultures. This
Diversity.
city has shaped the city's vibrant neighborhood and rich cultures.
Cultural city. So that's just saying people immigrated from other countries and made Chicago what it is today. They brought cool traditions and their customs and brought businesses and all kinds of things like that from overseas and helped make Chicago be something different today.
Chicago has come a long way since the mid-1800s. From a small trading post with dirt roads to a bustling
Metropolis, that just means big city.
filled with skyscrapers and a diverse population. The city has transformed in many ways. While life in the 1800s was simple and different, today Chicago is a dynamic and exciting place to live, with its own
Unique.
unique history and charm.
Good job. So like the title says, this whole story is just telling us about Chicago then and now. It's telling us about what it used to look like and what happened to make it the super busy city it is today. So on your paper, I want you to go ahead and label the paragraphs before we get started on the questions. So start at the top, and we're gonna go 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So after labeling, you should have 5 paragraphs labeled. So if you put your question page beside your passage, numbering paragraphs is gonna be important later on. So it's 1 through 5, just written beside it. So what is the main idea of this text? A, people in Chicago work in factories. B, there's been little change in the city of Chicago. C, Chicago is home to a wealth of diversity. Or D, the city of Chicago has changed in many ways over the years. So it says, what is the main idea of the text? What is it asking for when it says the main idea? Please raise your hand. Will?
What the story is mostly about.
What the story is mostly about. So out of those answer choices, Will, what do you feel like it is?
D.
D. The city of Chicago has changed in many ways over the years. I think that sounds right, but can you find a sentence in our story, or do you remember a sentence in our story that makes us think, I think that's what it's talking about? Will you read it for me then, if you know which one it is? Or do you want some help? Some help, okay. So let's look at our story. So go to paragraph 5 and let's look at the first sentence. Chicago has come a long way since the mid-1800s, from a small trading post with dirt roads to a bustling metropolis filled with skyscrapers. Do you think that's talking about how it came a long way from then and now, and it supports our answer choice on number 1? Okay, so I want you to take your highlighter and highlight that first sentence in paragraph 5. Yes, Charles.
It also says it transformed in many ways.
It does say transformed in many ways, so that would be also be a good thing to highlight. Good job. So after you highlight that, I want you to write Q1 beside it. So you know why you highlighted it. You highlighted it because it helps support your answer on question 1. And I have done this since I was in 4th grade, probably even 2nd and 3rd. So you highlighted the first sentence in paragraph 5 and wrote Q1 beside it. Give me a thumbs up if you've done that.
Get your pencil.
Okay.
Question 1, right here. Number 1.
Thank you.
Question 1.
Let me circle these.
So after you've done that, we'll go to question 1, and we'll circle D. And in the bottom corner, you're gonna write P.5. And that's saying the sentence that supports your answer is in paragraph 5. So it seems like a lot of steps, but you're really just supporting your answer. You're saying, oh, the sentence that told me what the answer is in paragraph 5. And then you're putting Q1 beside what you highlighted, so you can remember why you highlighted it. It goes with question 1.
I just put help question 1.
You put what?
Help question 1. Help question 1.
So I like that you said helped, because it did help you find the answer. But if you just put Q dash or Q.1, it's gonna save space on your paper.
And write all that.
But it did help you, so that does make sense. So just to look at it one more time, I put the paragraph on paragraph 5, you're highlighting your sentence that supports your answer. And then you're putting Q1, because it goes with question 1. Then on the question, we answered it, it's D. The city of Chicago has changed in many ways over the years, thank you, Will. And we're putting P.5, because we found our answer in paragraph 5. Okay, so give me a thumbs up if we have all those steps done.
You type good, you type good. You're already at it. You type.
Okay, perfect.
Good.
Who wants to read question 2? Julia.
The second section of text says, instead of putting the light on, what is meant by the light?
Okay, so it's asking us what relied meant in that sentence. So let's go to paragraph 2. And let's read it in the paragraph and see if it can give us some context. London?
They relied on handing letters and newspapers for information.
And let's read one sentence down, because maybe that'll give us some more information too. So read the next sentence, please.
Travel was slower and there was no cars or airplanes. Steamboats and trains were the primary modes of transportation.
Okay, so from that sentence, what do we feel like relied means, London?
Like they needed to support it.
They needed it, so they depended on that to happen. Because they didn't have phones, so they had to write a letter to get information. So we are going to highlight the sentence that has relied in it. So highlight where it says, they relied on handwritten letters and newspapers for information. And you're gonna write Q2 beside it. So the question is open response, so the second section of the text says, instead they relied on what is meant by rely. So we need to make sure we make it a full sentence, so. Rely in the sentence means they depended on it, period. And then we're gonna put P.2, because that is where we found the information. I will give you a minute to write that down.
And you see how it's a complete sentence.
Capital letter, period, and it's not a fragment, it's not just 3 letters with a period, it's a leaning to your sentence. Because that's what I'm gonna look for later on your next passage you do independently, is for a full sentence that is supported by the text. So I'm gonna look for you putting the paragraph number and for writing a full sentence that answers the question. And when we're saying write a full sentence and it's supported by the text or the passage, I don't want you to copy what you read in the passage. I don't want you to copy the sentence.
Capital letter.
I want you to put it in your own words when you're writing it out. Unless it specifically asks for it like it will later in these questions, but we'll talk about that when we get there. So give me a thumbs up once you copy down number 2.
You don't have the answer though.
Purple table, y'all have it? Okay. Alright, I'll pick a thumbs down, thank you. I'm gonna wait on my friends a little bit longer. You should be copying it down exactly as I have it on the board, because it is a complete sentence for a reason. Simone.
They relied on his written on the transportation.
Say it one more time.
I said they relied on the transportation.
No, friend, because that's why, it's asking us what relied meant. So you're telling me what it says in the sentence, but the question is asking what relied means in the sentence. So it means they depended on it. What-
It means, I thought, like, all they had to use.
All they had to use, okay.
Is it in a complete sentence? All it says is all they had to use, but it's in a complete sentence.
Howard's right.
Just make sure you do right. See how she started it with the sentence, the question relied in the sentence means? You gotta start it like that. Okay.
So while some of y'all are finishing up copy number 2, let's move on to number 3. So how does the city of Chicago become so diverse? Doesn't it say diverse in the story?
Yes.
Okay, so I want y'all to take a minute and find it in the story. When you find it, raise your hand and then we can talk about it. That was quick. Amelia, will you read the sentence where you found it?
And with its population, the city has transformed in many ways.
Okay, so diverse is right there, and there's one other place in the story it is. London?
As Chicago grew over the years, it became more diverse and multicultural.
Okay, so more diverse and multicultural. Will you read the next sentence too?
Immigrants from all over the world came to Chicago, bringing their traditions, languages, and cultures.
So from paragraph 4 right there in those first 2 sentences, what do we think that diverse means? Just your best guess. Christopher? Unique, yes, that was good. London? You were saying, well, that was an excellent answer, so. Jackson's your hand up? No? Okay, so diverse just means different or unique. So in that second sentence, it says immigrants from all over the world, so just people from other countries that came to live here, came to Chicago to bring their traditions, languages, and cultures. So those are all unique things that they brought, right? So is diverse just saying they brought their own unique traditions and customs?
Yes.
Okay. Our question said, how did the city of Chicago become so diverse? And it was from immigrants coming, so we can say the city of Chicago, and make sure Chicago is capitalized because it's a proper noun in the sentence. City of Chicago is so diverse because immigrants brought their culture and traditions. So you are gonna highlight that sentence that London read for us, so it's in paragraph 4, it says, as Chicago grew over the years, it became more diverse and multicultural. Immigrants from all over the world came to Chicago bringing their traditions, and we're gonna stop right there. So you were gonna put Q3, where you just highlighted in paragraph 10. And I have it up on the board if you need help figuring out where you highlight. No, I am, I just want people to highlight this first.
Highlight it first.
So highlight it, and then I will put it back on the question. No, that's fine, you can expand it all the way out there, because it does apply to the question, so that's completely fine. Give me a thumbs up if you highlighted that and put Q3, so I know if I can move back to the question. Okay, thank you. I'm gonna flip it back to the question. And we're gonna put P.4 at the bottom. So that is where we found our answer. So you're writing down the question and putting P.4. So I'll give you all a couple minutes to finish writing that.
Does that word say after because?
That's really horrible handwriting, I'm so sorry. It says immigrants and it's in the story if you need to see it spelled out more clear. And believe it or not, that is me trying to have good handwriting. So that's about.
What does number 3 say?
It says the city of Chicago, which is capitalized, is so diverse because immigrants brought their culture and traditions. And a lot of these words are where we found our evidence in the text. So if you need help spelling some of it, look where you highlighted for the question. When you're done, put your pencil down so I know that you're done writing. Brought. Yep, just bad handwriting, but yes, that is an R. don't get all of it done this first time, I will leave it on the board when we're done talking about it, so if you didn't finish writing it down, so don't stress, it'll be up there. So about one more minute till we move to question 4. Okay, so which word from the 4th paragraph is a synonym for the word spirited? So what does synonym mean? Julia? The same. So what word from paragraph 4 is the same as the word spirited? We're gonna do it later. Okay, so let's go to paragraph 4. And I want you to read it quietly to yourself really quick and think about what word you think could mean spirited. Or be the same as spirited, a synonym for it. When you've read it and you feel like you know, raise your hand. Peyton? Vibrant. So Peyton said vibrant. So let's read that sentence. This diversity has shaped the city's vibrant neighborhoods and rich cultural scene. Y'all feel like vibrant is the right answer for that?
Yes.
Give me a thumbs up if you feel like it is. I feel like it is. So go ahead and highlight that last sentence. Good job, Peyton. So you're highlighting this diversity has shaped the city's vibrant neighborhoods and rich cultural scene. So that last sentence, you are gonna put Q4 up beside it. Yes. You are gonna put P.4, yes ma'am. So you will circle A, vibrant, and put P.4. Alright, so on 5 and 6, earlier I told you not to copy completely from the text, but the part B in each of those is asking you to write the sentence that supported your answer. So if it's asking you to write the sentence that supported your answer, it's completely fine to copy it down. If it's not asking though, it's saying like, what is relied on, don't just, or like, what does relied mean in the sentence? Don't just write the sentence with relied in it. You're actually, huh? Use your own words, that's right, unless it's asking for you to copy it. So I'm gonna scoop my paper up, I will put it back on the board later for you to be able to write down if you didn't get a chance. So 5, part A, according to the passage, what were the main ways people in Chicago traveled in the 1800s? So look at your passage and see if you can find the sentence that tells us how they traveled. Don't highlight it yet, I just want us to read it together. Put the cap on. Savon. Okay. Yes, it says they used horse-drawn carriages. There was one other paragraph that said a way that they had transportation as well. Hold on. Corlin?
They traveled by trains and steamboats.
They traveled by trains and steamboats. So I want you to highlight steamboats and trains were the primary modes of transportation. And you are gonna put Q5, and you're just gonna put 5 because it answers both of those questions. So you don't have to put 5A or 5B. So highlight that and put Q5. What, friend?
It just will be behind, it's an emergency one.
No, just Q5. And it doesn't have to be proper or anything, that's just for you to know, this is highlighted because it helps me answer question 5. So we're gonna go to question 5, and it says, according to the passage, what were the main ways people in Chicago traveled in the 1800s? So we'll say, the main ways people traveled were by steam, boat, and trains. Because that's what it says in paragraph 2, right? So we are gonna put paragraph 2 beside question 5, because it answers both. So you're gonna write, the main ways people travel were by steamboats and trains. And then on part B, it says, what sentence from the passage supports your answer to part A? You're just gonna copy down the sentence we highlighted. So,
What about the horse-drawn carriages?
it does say that they travel by horse-drawn carriage, but it's asking for where in the text it said primary mode of transportation. And that means what the majority of people used. So we're writing down what the majority of people use to travel. So on part B, you're just copying the sentence that we highlighted to support our answer. And you don't have to put P2 besides both of them if you just put it in the box, because it's answering both part A and part B. If you're done copying or writing part B in, give me a thumbs up so I know who all is done. Okay, maybe just a little bit longer. Thank you, Julia. So part A, you're answering the question. So you're answering what the main ways were in your own words. In part B, you are copying the sentence because it says, what sentence from the passage supports your answer? So you're just writing that one sentence in. Okay. I'm gonna go ahead and move on to question 6, but you will be able to write this down when we're done. Just doing it for the sake of time and people who are already done. So part A, what can we infer is the meaning of the word transformed as it is used in the last section of the text? So what does infer mean? Peyton? That's okay. London? What do we think? What are we assuming that this word means? Okay? So what do we assume that the meaning of the word transformed is? Transformed as it is used in the last section of the text. So let's go find it in the text. It's in paragraph 5. So the city is transformed in many ways. While life in the 1800s was simpler and different, today Chicago is a dynamic and exciting place to live with its own unique history and charm. So using this sentence, what do we think that transformed means? Savon? Okay, so it is talking about life in the 1800s, but we're trying to figure out what the word transformed means, how it's being used in the sentence. So what do you think, what's another word for transformed? Like, what do we think it means in the sentence? Say it one more time. Transformed. Who can help us? Aaron?
Turned into?
Turned into. So, turned into something different. It became something different. Sutton? Change. Okay? So, the city has changed in many ways. Alright, so we're gonna go ahead and highlight the sentence that transformed then. So, we'll start at D. The city has transformed in many ways. And you are gonna put Q6 beside that.
Focus.
And beside part 6, you're gonna put P.5, because that is what is helping us answer the question. Paragraph 5 is where we're finding our sentence to help us answer that. So we said transformed means change. So we will put the meaning of transformed means the city had changed. And then in part B, we're just gonna write the sentence that we highlighted. The city has transformed in many ways.
What was that word say after the on part B?
The city.
No, like after.
Nope, it's not cursive, it's just bad handwriting. Thank you for
After,
trying on.
well, after, on the on the fifth question.
The primary. Cause it says it in the story too, that I'm just copying the sentence we highlighted from the story.
What did you say after the on part A?
Meaning. Noted. Gonna have to work on my handwriting before next year. I appreciate that. So when you're done copying these, go ahead and stack them up, and I'll come by and pick them up. Oh wait, no, they're all attached, that was done, okay. Just leave it, and then you'll start working on your second. Okay, perfect, I do actually. So you'll rip off your questions in the story, and I'll come by and pick them up. And then you'll start working on that second passage, which freeze, don't rip anything out, stop writing for a second. On your second passage, you're gonna do all the skills we talked about today. You're gonna be highlighting, you're gonna put where you're, or in the passage where you're highlighting, you're gonna put what question it's going with, and you're gonna put what paragraph, because that's what I'm gonna be looking for when I'm looking at it after the fact, when y'all are done. I'm gonna be looking for where you put your paragraph, I'm gonna be looking for full sentences, periods, capital letters, and actually answering the question. Unless it is the part B that's asking you to copy what the sentence from the passage, I want you to put it in your own words and answer the sentence fully.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay? So go ahead and tear off that first passage of questions if you're done, and I'll come pick them up.
Put your name.
Yes, so please make sure your name's on it.
You want that one?
When you're done, if you're still copying, that's okay.
I'm gonna beat you. Put capital letters on every one of those sentences. Jeez Louise.
And when I pick that up, you can go ahead and start on that second passage.
What do you do to this? These are the- Yes. Done. What's your name?
Huh? If you are get started on the next passage, you can rip apart the Amazing Brain list. That's totally fine. What happened? Oh, it just cracked me a little bit.
You done? Are you done with this? Okay, so go ahead.
Thank you.
Come on, Henry.
Raise your hand if you're still working on the Chicago packet, so I can see.
I'm so sorry.
Okay, thank you. I'll come pick it up in a minute, that's fine. If you need help on the second one, raise your hand, we can help. But remember to highlight and use your study skills we talked about.